Hello, my name is Rebecca Bowles, and for my project, I chose Aristotle and Modern Heredity. My main article that I did my research on was Aristotle's concept of heredity. It's from the Journal of the Washington Academy of Sciences. It was by Sharpley, Cohen, and Teeter. That's a picture of Aristotle. Education is bitter, but its fruit is sweet, is one of his famous quotes. He was born in 384 BC and died in 322 BC. Aristotle was short in nature, but he was full of life. He was constantly on the move collecting information. He was a careful observer. He not only sought facts, but got methods on how to handle them and put them in an order. This set the stage for development of scientific method that came centuries later. Most people associate Aristotle with philosophy, but he spent a quarter of his life studying animals, reproduction, and heredity. This made him one of the earliest systematic biologists. So Aristotle believed it took a male and a female in order for their reproduction to occur. So male was the efficient cause of reproduction, the female was the material for the development. Parental traits were passed down to their offspring, and a species reproduces their own kind. So his concepts were very similar to today's modern concepts of species and reproductive isolation. But he couldn't actually see what constituted an embryo, a human embryo, so he did a lot of studies on reproduction on the chicken embryos. And that gave him a better understanding of the reproduction. So, in Generation of Animals, Aristotle describes semen as that which has in it the principles of generation, from which is finally formed each of the parts of the body. And these are kind of conceptually similar to the role of genes in modern heredity. So he believed that semen contained the principles responsible for forming each part of the body. While he had no concept of DNA, the idea resembles a modern understanding that genes carry the information necessary to build an organism. So for an egg, Aristotle described it as the material basis of development. It contained the nutritive substance for the embryo, and the source of the matter shaped by the male's generative principle. So for modern times, the egg equals the material cause of the organism. And he understood that the egg was providing material substance necessary for development. While the male supplied the organizing principle, the egg supplied the matter and nourishment from which the embryo formed. We kind of talked about this a little bit, about embryology. And Aristotle, he couldn't directly see what an embryo was really made of because the microscopes didn't exist back then. But he did understand that both a male and a female were necessary for reproduction. And to better understand that, he studied on chicken embryos. And by observing the fertilized chicken eggs at different stages, he tracked how structures were formed over time. And these observations helped him develop one of the earliest systematic theories of reproduction and heredity. So, talking a little bit more about that, Aristotle distinguished between the generating nature, which is the principle that organizes or produces traits, and generated nature, which is the resulting of the organism traits. And this is similar to today's genotype, which is the inherited information, and the phenotype, which is expressed traits. So it's showing that he had an understanding of the genotype and the phenotype, and it shows an early attempt to separate cause and versus effect and inheritance. Why Aristotle still matters? He's one of the first to study biology systematically. He developed an early theory of reproduction and inheritance. He distinguished between the cause of traits and their expression. He influenced biology thinking for nearly 2,000 years. And so here's my references. I chose 4 different references. They've all really had the same concept, just a little bit different understanding of Aristotle and his work on heredity, and they are really a good read. Most of them aren't very long. Sorry for the setup. It is kind of what it is. This is the only way I know how to do it. So, and it works. So, thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time. Bye.